Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. Today is October 16th. I'm your host, Bobby Capucci, and this is Daily Drop number 14. We have two articles we're going to get into today. One is from NBC News, and the other is from Fox News. The one in the NBC article has to do with Alan Dershowitz and his case against Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and in the Fox article, it's going to go into a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein and his sick pursuits and some of the different ways that he was able to wiggle his way into the more elite areas of society. All right, first article is the one from NBC. We'll start off with that and we'll go from there. Jeffrey Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre can move forward with her defamation lawsuit against lawyer Alan Dershowitz, but she's going to need a new attorney, a federal judge ruled Wednesday. Dershowitz, a professor at Harvard Law School and a former lawyer for Epstein, has been embroiled for years in the child sexual abuse scandal surrounding the wealthy financier who died supposedly by suicide in August. Giuffre, one of Epstein's earliest and most prominent accusers, filed the defamation suit against Dershowitz in April. The suit alleges that she was a victim of sex trafficking and abuse by Epstein from 2000 to 2002, beginning when she was 16 years old. Giuffre claims Dershowitz was also a participant in sex trafficking, including as one of the men to whom Epstein lent out plaintiff for sex, and that Dershowitz falsely claimed she had fabricated the accusation. Dershowitz has adamantly denied the allegations and filed motions to dismiss the case and disqualify Giuffre's lawyers from representing her. He claims that she conspired with her lawyers at the firm Boies Schiller Flexner LLP to extort him. But Judge Loretta Preska of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York ruled Wednesday that the case would continue, stating that Giuffre has pled sufficient facts to defeat Dershowitz's motion to dismiss. Preska ruled in Dershowitz's favor on a second motion he filed, that Giuffre can no longer be represented by lawyers from Boies Schiller Flexner LLP due to the likelihood that lawyers from the firm will be called as witnesses in the case. The case hinges in part on Giuffre's claim that Dershowitz defamed her by saying she and lawyer Boies Schiller Flexner attempted to extort him. All right, so we'll pause the article there and we'll talk a little bit about this. What this all stems from is that Giuffre has accused Dershowitz, obviously, of being part of the sex ring, and she's accused him of having sex with her as a minor at the behest of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the whole situation with the lawyers, David Boies and Alan Dershowitz, are in this huge, I don't know even what you want to call it, some sort of scuffle or battle, or I don't even know, honestly, I don't even know what you would want to call it. But they have this big war going on, and Dershowitz says he's being extorted by Boies, says he has tapes, the whole nine. And he obviously denies that he had anything to do with Virginia Roberts being sexually trafficked or abused. But now we got this judge is saying that, well, Boies might not be able to defend Giuffre. The case is going to go forward. So let's finish here. The defamation case against Alan Dershowitz is going forward, and he will have to face justice, Sigrid McCauley, one of Giuffre's lawyers at Boies, Schiller, and Flexner, said. The decision, however, to disqualify our firm, which has had the privilege of representing Virginia and advocating for her brave voice and continued call for justice, is deeply disappointing, and it will be promptly appealed. Dershowitz released a statement saying he was pleased that the firm led by prominent attorney David Boies has been disqualified. He said he plans to call Boies as a major witness to prove in Boies' own recorded words that his client is wrong, simply wrong, in accusing me. According to the judge's ruling, Dershowitz also provided the court transcripts of a conversation between himself and Boies. The judge cited the transcript in her ruling, saying that if Giuffre's current attorneys weren't disqualified, they would be in the unusual position of having to question their own colleagues, including Boies, about conflicting evidence and testimony in the case. The case is now headed for trial, though Giuffre will need new representation. Dershowitz told the court his legal team plans to call multiple lawyers from Boies, Schiller, Flexner as witnesses to prove the extortion happened. Giuffre's attorneys at the firm maintain that the conversation transcript was taken out of context and nothing improper occurred. Giuffre, who lives in Australia, cannot immediately be reached for comment. All right, well, there's really not much to that article. There's not much depth to that article. There's just a little bit of a scratching of the surface. And as that whole entire situation unfolds, we'll continue to cover it. If you remember a few daily drops back, we talked about this as well. We talked about Dershowitz also on the long form show, the Scalia and Trump show. We talked about that as well. There's a lot going on with that whole Dershowitz case, and it doesn't get that much play in the media. I think a lot of people are very scared to go after Dershowitz, considering how high profile he is and how easily he could ruin people's lives. But, you know, I don't have any evidence of that. But it doesn't seem likely that he would not be a bigger target, in my opinion. So, anyway, the link to that article will be in the description. And the next article we're going to go into it's a Fox News article, and the headline of it, the title of the article is, Jeffrey Epstein used high society connections to advance 6 schemes. Source, new documentary. And this just ties right along with everything we've talked about with Jeffrey Epstein. The whole entire intelligence angle. I know it's like beating a dead horse around here. You guys are sick of hearing it. The fellow travelers on this road with me that have been here with me from the beginning are probably tired of hearing about it, but for the newer subscribers and the new people listening for the first time, we're very sold on the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was an asset of intelligence, and each article that I read over the air that has to do with him and his high-placed friends and the different ways he was able to get away with things, it just cements the fact, in my opinion now, because obviously I don't have the facts to back this up, but in my opinion, he was a huge asset for intelligence. All right, so let's jump into this Fox article. One of the greatest unsolved riddles of the sordid saga of convicted sex offender and accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein is how he managed to get away so many vile crimes for so many years. A man of complete mystery. The more we study him, the more we report on him, the more questions we have about him. Fox News contributor and Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter Judith Miller told Fox Nation in the new documentary The Twisted Life of Jeffrey Epstein. Fox Nation delved into how Epstein used his connections to the rich and famous and some of America's most trusted institutions to shape and build his reputation. Now we'll pause the article there because, once again, this goes right into what we talk about. He used Ghislaine Maxwell to get himself into these circles, and once he was there, he used his own charisma and his own chutzpah to make his way deeper and burrow his way deeper into these almost closed societies. And it's obvious from everything you read. Back to the article. Part of his efforts to connect to the elites, the power brokers who in turn embraced him, gave him a sense of legitimacy. And that is extremely important to furthering the scheme for as long as it went on, said attorney Dan Kaiser, who represents one of Epstein's accusers, who alleged that Epstein raped her when she was 15 years old. How could he be a pedophile? He's among the glitterati. He's among the people who make decisions and the powerful. Bernard Kerik, who served as New York Police Commissioner from 2000 to 2001, said he knew many of the people who associated with Epstein in one fashion or another and described them as the elite. He was also hanging out with everybody and anybody in New York City that ran in those financial circles. Not ran in predatory circles. He wanted to hang with the highest rollers, the most influential people. That's a business trade almost, especially in New York City, Kerik told Fox Nation. Well, what it also is, in my opinion, Mr. Kerik, is a man who could be easily running in these circles so that he could cultivate these people, get in close with them, get dirt on them, and then basically own them. Because that is exactly what it looks like is going on here. And I don't know how much more evidence we need to bring to the table before, it's talked about more in the media. Back to the article. Of course, one of Epstein's most prominent associates was Prince Andrew, the third child and second son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. Prince Andrew is shown in a 2001 photo wrapping his arm around the waist of an underage girl, Virginia Roberts Joffrey. Roberts Joffrey alleges that she was sexually trafficked by Epstein to the prince. However, according to radio host Howie Carr, not all of Epstein's friends were necessarily aware of his crimes. A lot of people, I think, were attracted to him not because they wanted to get together with underage girls, but there is a certain cachet in being in parties with all these people, said Carr. He served fine champagne, fine wine, even though he was a teetotaler. What? He knew how to get the right people at the right parties. Finally, central to Epstein's persona was his place in the world of philanthropy. Jeffrey Epstein did make charitable contributions to all sorts of organizations because it was part of his reputation laundering, said Kaiser. Since Epstein's death in August, the presidents of Harvard University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have admitted that their institutions received millions of dollars from Epstein. Pause. Arizona State also received money, as well as other schools. They need to report that as well. Back to the article. MIT has come under additional scrutiny after a new expose alleged that it continued to accept Epstein's money despite labeling him a disqualified donor because of his sex offender conviction in 2008. Epstein went out of his way to make donations to the places that mattered, Miller told Fox News. Harvard, the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton, New Scientific Institutes and Ventures. He made sure that if people wanted money for various projects, he would be someone they would naturally call. All right, so that's the end of that article. And look, we all understand, everybody that's been listening to this show understands that Jeffrey Epstein was not working in a vacuum, that Jeffrey Epstein was not working by himself, that Jeffrey Epstein was not protecting himself, that Jeffrey Epstein was being protected, that Jeffrey Epstein was surrounded by enablers, and once again in this article, people simply make more excuses for those that enabled him. Enough is enough. Do you understand that enough is enough? The people that were around him, the people that allowed this to occur, the people that thought that it was okay to take part in any of this. All of these people, if you've noticed, they're all the same people. Oh, I had nothing to do with it. I had no idea. I had no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Do you really think I would be involved in something like that? And then it comes out later on, it trickles out that they were closer, in fact, than we knew. Just like with Bill Gates. Just like with Richard Branson, it's coming out now. Just like with Steve Bannon. The list goes on, folks. When does it stop? When's it going to end? The real question, though, is when will it all be exposed? Because that is what we do here. We're turning over every rock. We're chasing every lead. We're looking into every story. What we want to do is make sure that this story does not disappear in the news cycle of garbage that comes out every single day. That's going to conclude this episode. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having you guys along for the ride tomorrow. Have a great night.